Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Today's video is going to be small town romance recommendations. This is one of my absolute favorite tropes and that I've really gotten into over the last year. I don't know, there's something just so comforting about small town romances, and so I don't know, they're just very wholesome, sweet, cozy books. So without further ado, let's just hop into the video. So the first books that I have to recommend are very obvious books, but it is the Ballinger sisters duology, both It Happened One Summer and Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey. These are set in Westport. Westport, I'm not sure where that is. I think it's in California. But it's this very small fishing town, and both sisters go there because that's where their father is from, and they're sort of sent there as a bit of a punishment because their stepfather thinks they've just gotten way out of touch with reality. So they sort of want to go get them sent there so that they can learn the values of a small town. And that's when Piper meets Brendan, who is a grumpy fisherman. And I mean, I feel like I don't need to explain these books because they're so popular, but they're one of my favorite. This series is why Tessa Bailey is popular. It's great. It's got great spice. It's got great characters, great banter, great everything. I don't know, it's a really good series, and it's a really good beginner series, I would say, too, if you were wanting to get into small town romances. Yeah, I would say it's a quite beginner small town romance because it doesn't have all of the elements that I come to expect from small town romances, like all of the quirky side characters from town and things like that, but there is some of that in here, so that's why I say it's a good beginner one. Yeah, so the first book follows Piper and Brendan and their love story, where Piper and then her sister Hannah comes with her for moral support, and the second book is about her sister Hannah and Fox, who is the second in command of the boat that Brendan runs. So these are a great series. If you haven't for some reason picked them up already, I definitely recommend it. The next book I have is Love Light Farms, which is the first book in the Love Light series. They all actually are small town romances, but I've only read the first one, so I can't recommend the rest of them, but I have heard nothing but great things about the whole series, so I'm sure they're all great. The first one is marketed as a Christmas book, but I wouldn't say it's a Christmas book, honestly. It does at the very end, it's just Christmas time, so you could probably read this book all year round is what I'm trying to say. This book follows Stella and Luca, who are best friends. This is the best friends to lovers trope. This is the quintessential friends to lovers trope. There's also fake dating in here because Luca is helping Stella because Stella has a Christmas tree farm, and the business is struggling. There's been somebody in town who's been sabotaging her, and on top of that, it's just hard to run a Christmas tree farm all year round. So she has had some financial troubles, but then there is this blogger who's holding a competition that if you win the competition, they'll come to your space, and they have tons of followers, and they bring great tourism and I think you also win a check if you win the competition. So Stella becomes one of the finalists, and but part of her application was that she said that she ran it with her partner. Her and her partner ran this business together, so Luca steps up to be her fake partner for this competition. This book is just super, super cute. It's got some great tropes. It's got really good banter. They're best friends, so they've got great banter, and Luca is such a great book boyfriend. He is adorable, and Stella is also just a really quirky, fun character, which I love about small town romances. I think that the quirky characters in town are the best. This one definitely has that element of the like quirky side like characters that, and I think that's who the rest of the books follow, is like the other people on the farm and people in town. So I'm really excited to read the next books in the series. I just have not gotten around to it, but I like really am excited about it. I've heard really good things about this series in general. I think the 4th one actually comes out next year, so hopefully I'll be all caught up by then. The next book I have to recommend is The Birthday List by Daphne Perry. Daphne Perry in general is the queen of small town romances, in my opinion, and this one is no exception. It is fantastic. I think it's actually one of her underhyped series. It's actually a duology, the Mason Jar duology. This first, but I've only read the first one so far, so I'm only going to recommend this one, although I've heard actually the second one's even better than this one, so I'm really excited about that. This book follows Poppy and Cole and their romance. Poppy is, at the beginning of this book, Poppy is married and to her husband, who actually ends up dying in a tragic liquor store robbery. And Cole, the male main character of this book, is actually the cop that tells her the bad news that day. But so that's how the beginning of this book starts, and her husband actually has this list of which he calls the birthday list. It's a list of all these different things that he wants to get done before his different birthdays. And so Poppy has decided that she is going to complete the list for him, and the book is sort of about her doing that and one of the first things is to take a karate class, where she sees Cole again 5 years later after the accident with her husband. And it's sort of, and so they meet at the karate place and they hit it off, and he decides to help her with a bunch of the birthday list items. And so as they're doing that, they fall in love, and it's just a very cute story, and it's very sad, but it's very it's just so emotional. This one I would also say is not like a quintessential small town romance, even though it takes place in a small town. It's not so much about the town as much as the emotional story that the characters go through. This one's definitely character driven rather than plot driven, although there is an overarching plot to do with her husband's murder. So if that intrigues you, that's another thing about Daphne Perry. She always has like a romantic suspense element to her books, which are always really well done and so make the book even just more fantastic. So if all of that sounds good to you, I definitely would recommend The next book that I want to recommend is Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. This is the first book in the Knock 'Em Out series. The second book is actually coming out soon in February. By the time this video is up, it might actually already be out. I'm not entirely sure about that. I'm not sure when this video is going out. But this is just really good. This was my first ever Lucy Score book, and it was I loved it. I loved the writing style, and so I definitely need to read more Lucy Score after this. But this book follows Naomi and Knox. Knox is such a small town romance name. Knox, I feel like I've read so many books where the male main character's book name is Knox, and a lot of times they're small town romance. There's Knox Eden is another one I just read. Anyway, sorry, that's a little side tangent, but this book follows Naomi and Knox. Naomi comes into town because Naomi's sort of life is sort of imploding. She just broke up she was engaged to be married, and she just ditched the wedding, and she is coming into town to help her sort of estranged twin, Tina. I'm pretty sure her name is Tina. Anyways, that's not important. So she comes into town to help her estranged sister Tina, and as she's there, she realizes her sister has actually left town and left her with the niece she didn't even know she had. Tina is not well liked in this small town, and so a lot of time it's actually really funny. The beginning scene is her getting mistaken for Tina in the local coffee shop, which they have a "do not serve this person" sign, and so she's like arguing that that's not her. It's a really funny story, part of this like beginning of the story. Knox is super grumpy, and Naomi has to stay in town to take care of her niece that Tina just abandoned, and so Knox decides to help them out and is just genuinely and she ends up working at his bar, and it's just sort of a story of them getting together, and it's just, I'm not doing the explanation justice, but there's a lot of really great banter. It's really well done. I really recommend it. There's a reason why this book is so popular, and I'm really excited about the second book. Okay, and the last couple of books that I'm going to recommend are basically any books written by Jenny Bayliss. There's only, I believe she only has 3 books, and they're all sort of like Christmas novella books, but they're all small town and so fantastically done, and I think that they just don't get the hype that they deserve, so I wanted to include them. I know I'm including another like Christmas type romance, but that is a very big part of Christmas romances. A lot of them are small town romances, but I could make probably like 5 more videos of small town romances, but I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm just going to stick with the ones I've mentioned. But before I end it, I'm going to talk about these. So the first book that she wrote was The 12 Dates of Christmas, and this one is this is a sort of childhood friends to lovers book. It follows Kate and Matt. Kate decides to go on their town is sort of running like a 12 dates of Christmas thing, and so she's going on 12 dates around Christmas time, and it's really fun because you get to learn like all about the different little spots in town and all the different like meddling these are like quintessential ones where they have all the like side town, like the small side characters who are very nosy and very quirky. Yeah, so this one follows Kate and Matt, where Kate is going on the 12 dates of Christmas. Matt is actually in a relationship, and they're best friends, but as she's going on these dates, he's getting jealous, and his girlfriend's ex shows up as one of her dates, and things ensue from there. The second book is A Season for Second Chances. This is not a second chance romance, as you might think by the cover. It is not, so don't think that. This is probably the least Christmassy of the books. This one I would say is more just like a good fall book. This one follows Annie, who discovers her husband cheating on her, so she leaves him and moves to this very small town where she's taking care of a house while she gets her finances in order during the separation from her husband. But she ends up in this small town. She can't stay, and the landlady's nephew comes in periodically to check on her and gets really grumpy because she started a business, and he doesn't want her thinking that she can stay there. And yeah, it's sort of a grumpy sunshine, like a little bit of an enemies to lovers, but not really. And last but not least is Meet Me Under the Mistletoe, so this one follows Nori. Nori is from a small town where she went to private school with a bunch of her friends, and one of her friends from that friend group are getting married, so they're all back in this small town, while during like the lead up to the wedding they have like some reception, like a week-long reception where they're all hanging out, and her brother's best friend is the groundskeeper at the castle that they're having the wedding at, and so she gets to talk to him again, which she hasn't seen him in quite a few years. So like they're back in their little small town, and it's just another really cute one. I feel like I did not do those books justice and justification, but like just trust me, if you like Emily Henry, these sort of are the Christmas versions of Emily Henry's writing, in my opinion. So I don't know if I've convinced you, but I definitely recommend. Anyways, that's going to be the end of this small town romance recommendation video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not already. Leave me a comment down below what your favorite small town romance is. And if I've mentioned any in this video that you really liked, let me know. I'd love to chat in the comments. And yeah, I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.